It's a trap, you walked right into the hate. All over a new king that's face is just replaced. It's all the same, you still be ruled by force. And no matter who it is, they'll still carry on the torch. Just a lie, cheat, steal, half of what you make. Taxation is steps, it's time to vacate the state. Newsflash, all your cash is an IOU. From killers who really do steal from you. Inflation is a weapon used by every nation who says that they're saving the world through lies. If they disguise and pass off as bravery, well, I got news, debt is slavery. It don't matter who's madder, a new master don't matter. When they both want the same, the state don't play no games. They got you trying to survive and put you on sides and ready to kill each other. That's conquer and divide. It's all for show, or for hyper control.
That's to get off my neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, boy. What's happening?
Yeah.
Teen Wolf, or whatever name you wanted to come up with customarily, is in the building.
Right. What's really going on, man?
Just a mild sweat that'll eventually grow to an unbearable trickle, you know? It's,
really, there's no better way, man. I figured I had a conversation today with a man by the name of Elmo, and he reminded me that pain is the only way through, you know?
Yeah. Tears are such a good waste of suffering, if you think about it.
Nobody likes a bitch.
No. I told him, I was like, man, I broke my toe and I almost threw up. I don't know how you're doing what you're doing. Like, that's crazy. Everybody should send positive vibes or whatever the fuck you call it over that way to Elmo, because he's systematically breaking his leg every day for the next, 17 days or so.
Yeah, it's I was looking at some photographic evidence of that, and man, the human body is amazing, but so is its capacity to feel pain.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm so glad we have such a nice neural network to let us know what's going on in our bone wedges.
It was particularly designed to let you know that, hey,
fucker.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know that the doctor cut a wedge out about this long, and I'm going to let you feel every bit of it.
Actually, we decided you also pain medication, that's just way too dangerous. Pain is much more appropriate.
Such a more effective teacher, really, if you think about it.
Oh, man.
So, not to, completely gloss over everything going on in the news, but I don't think either of us really give a fuck.
Yeah.
I did want to mention George Floyd's ritualistic murder that never really happened.
Man.
When a cop kills somebody, they cordon off the crime scene. They have another department come in, or another section of their department come in and do an investigation. They don't put him in the back of an ambulance and drive away with the body. So there's that. I don't know if you're hip to the Boule Society.
No.
It's the black end of the Skull and Bones.
Okay.
He had a tattoo of a 32nd degree Freemasonic eagle on his chest.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
They worked together. He was a porn star. It's those all party favors.
Yeah.
However, Atlanta, that was murder. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, how do you feel about that?
Oh, man. Well, I remember when I was in college, I believe, you have to forgive me for my date, fucking amnesia here, but I believe it was 1967, state of Tennessee v. Garner, particularly. They actually declared it unconstitutional to shoot a individual that was fleeing, regardless of whether or not they had committed a felony.
What they had done.
Yeah. And I think you'll find that if you let somebody go that's running away, rather than, murdering them by, firing rounds directly into their back, I think you'll find that you'll stay within the confines of the Constitution.
That dude probably would have kept his job.
Yeah. Honestly, for anybody out there, I think if you have any sympathy for, murderers, regardless of what color shirt they happen to be wearing,
or a flag, maybe
you're in the wrong. I just want you to know that there is no possible way that any natural society should be capable of being like, oh yeah, hey, we've got no problem with our government actors, just murdering civilians. For
I don't make the laws. I just sign up to enforce them with violence.
Yeah, I think the level of just like cognitive dissonance there, like, hey, we don't, because I think if you find like everybody's got that anecdotal story of like, hey, but my cousin's a cop, man, and he's a really good guy.
Your cousin's a piece of shit. You're all pieces of shit. Hashtag no lives matter.
Yeah. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's kind of like, I empathize with it. I empathize with at least certain parts of it. I mean, there are very few legitimate efforts that, quote unquote, law enforcement takes part in.
People make to serve the community.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there probably are quite a few people out there in the world that's what that's what their main intention is, but obviously that's not what's going on here, and I'm not okay. I'm not okay with that.
I can't breathe.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's kind of insanity that we can just. It kind of reminds me. I actually started reading a couple nights ago a book called Gulag Archipelago. For those of you who are interested, please check this out.
Plenty of people are buying it on Amazon right now.
Man, they absolutely should. And the Russian names I've never been able to pronounce, but Alexander Slochnin, he wrote that book, and much like 1984, it's kind of a scary representation of what we all have the possibility to become. And he kind of referenced the fact that people almost wanted malicious compliance to the point where they would just acquiesce to the government, whatever they wanted. Yeah, you're being taken away to some political prisoner camp, but let's just comply. Surely they can't have any negative intentions.
Truly, I just need to be re-educated.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually the one that's off course.
Yeah, maybe I'm the guy that's wrong here. Couldn't be any other way.
Surely isn't the giant monolith of government that we've created. There's,
And I think Westworld had it right. These violent delights have violent ends.
Such violent ends.
And I mean, really, let's all be honest here. I mean, let's not have some insane kind of pipe dream that any country was built on anything but blood.
Slavery.
I mean, that's all we've done. Every country.
Humans
throughout history.
Yeah,
we're actually just. I think Elon Musk put it the best. The brain, the cortex of the brain, is the small computer that's controlled by the monkey brain, which is a limbic system, and violence and all the things will just they'll eventually just take us to that spot. So I mean,
everything's so contrived. And please tell me, because you have that. I don't want to use the word sober because it's such a dirty word,
right?
But that steadfast viewpoint. At least I feel like you kind of rein me in sometimes when at least pull me back, and then whenever we're not together, I just drop I cut the anchor off and just let it go into the storm, you know what I mean? But they literally crafted this whole story. We have evidence of them delivering bricks. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We have, I watched a video earlier of cops using a fucking circular saw to cut off the armored entrance to a jewelry store, and then they just left. But the whole thing in itself, George Floyd, right? The symbology of it all. Dude killed him with his knee.
Right.
He kneeled down on his neck. And what's that remind you of in culture?
Well,
Kaepernick?
Yeah.
The whole
yeah. It was like it was so intentional of the antithesis of everything,
Is that possible that could happen organically?
Absolutely. No, I mean, not organically, no. That was all by design.
Proven.
It has to be.
They also had the him saying I can't breathe before he was even choking him, which reminds you of Eric Garner.
Yeah.
It literally conjures up every bit of fucking racial fucking divide all in one event.
Yeah.
And we just let it ride.
Well, and I think too. I think if you look at it in that way, and I remember I listened a few days ago to a short video clip that Eric Weinstein. I don't know if anybody's familiar with.
Shout out Eric Weinstein,
man,
savage.
That guy is next level.
If you want to be uncomfortable with how unintelligent you are, check out some of his videos.
Yeah, if actually you just want to burn any degree that you have hanging up on your wall right now, go ahead and listen to Eric Weinstein.
Useless paper.
But he made a really good point the other day. He said that the video, the very calm way in which George Floyd was, murdered, in that fashion, exactly like that, is it had a lot of, he could draw a lot of correlations to, lynching postcards, because it was videotaped. I mean, it was live. We all watched this live. I mean, over and over and over again. And so it's like, you have this, you're forced to watch this. There's no other way. You can't escape it. Right?
It's like 9/11. They just put
right.
it on replay.
It's ubiquitous. And then you have a situation where it's like, okay, we're going to take every correlation to popular culture and all the issues that people are bringing out, and we're just going to say, hey, we're just going to throw this in your face, but we're going to twist it in this way while we're murdering somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If that's coincidental, then fuck me.
I honestly can't physically believe in coincidence anymore.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, at a certain point, I think it's just really impossible to say that, okay, I can accept that this just happened the way that it happened. I mean, there's just no other way.
How do you explain that he didn't look anything like, and I don't want to make this entire show about racial killing, but how do you explain that he looks nothing like the guy in the video in his arrest photo?
Yeah.
That's different, right?
Yeah. Well, and two, I think there's just, and like you said, I mean, we could rehash this for eternity, but I think it's so important to say, okay, this it's literal. I mean, it's literal. Obviously, you can't deny that it's literal, but you also can't deny that it's just really metaphorical. What happened in that video is metaphorical. It was okay. Let's take this event and let's, it's just kind of like, let's take this symbology and let's use it in a way that, we're going to make sure that everybody...
It's very convenient, too, that it happened right at the end of everybody giving a fuck about COVID.
Right.
Where we were all forced to wear the mask out of compliance.
Yeah.
People started standing up, and now you got people taking the knee. Bow to the king.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing when Kaepernick would do that shit. I would go on those posts and be like, yes, bow to your white overlords.
Man.
Just to trigger the argument.
Right.
But now it's like literally in your face.
Yeah.
You try to stand up, and now everybody's kneeling.
Right.
And then you go to this guy in Atlanta. I mean, he tried to defend himself.
Yeah.
Not saying he wasn't a piece of shit. We're all pieces of shit.
Right, yeah.
But, like, you know what his crime was?
Yeah.
Why the cop wanted to interact with him? He passed out drunk in his car at Wendy's. So, no victim.
Right.
No victim, no crime, in my opinion.
Right.
But dude starts attacking him or whatever.
Right.
Dude's like, get the fuck out of here. They start fighting. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, and, here's the thing. I think at the end of the day is there's the unavoidable part of every single time this happens. I mean, well, let's see, what was it, 2019, where we have 1,014 people killed by law enforcement in this country?
Sounds about right. Just a fraction of how many dogs they kill, too.
Yeah. So, like, let's take the overall harm that law enforcement causes, and let's kind of, like, break that down and think, maybe in some of those cases, maybe, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, maybe they were legitimate, right? But how many murders happened last year in the United States from the quote-unquote law enforcement?
Yeah. Heavy air quotes.
I mean, like, let's just take that for granted, and let's say that, like, no matter how much constitutional guidelines it's put forth about when it's appropriate to, I don't know, shoot people to death, most of these things that we see don't fall within those guidelines. So what point are we sending here when we just sweep this shit under the rug,
I don't know.
Yeah.
They're using it to their end, though.
Right.
Talking about dissolving and defunding cops and all that.
Yeah.
Plus, now you've got a giant nationwide, like, people just resigning.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be involved. And I can't blame them. I mean, that's more honorable than just killing a dude out of cold blood in the street on camera.
Yeah.
But,
and let's talk, like, why in the fuck we're still concerned about no-knock drug warrants? Why the fuck are we still doing no-knock drug warrants?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, who gives a fuck? If they flush the drugs, guess what?
The drugs are gone.
Is accomplished.
Yeah.
Like,
you didn't get to make him your slave for 29 cents a day.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you couldn't do, slave labor for Apple. I'm sorry
Walmart.
that you couldn't make, more money for a private prison. That ran an article a couple years ago saying that they were going to close down if they didn't get enough people to fill the beds that they
poor
had.
Baby.
I mean, let's fucking be real here, man.
It's slavery.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think, a lot of people, they can disregard some of the correlations that people have drawn to, modern day law enforcement and the prison industrial complex or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. I mean, let's be honest. It's fucking slavery.
Yeah.
It's wage slavery. It's indentured servitude. It doesn't matter the name you put on it. That's what it is.
I'm not really good at math, but if you could in your mind run a comparison, slaves on a different level that work for the government to fight blood or oil wars across the sea for our freedom. Somehow our freedom got overseas in the Middle East. I'm not sure how. But, they get all these kids, 18 years old, all jacked up and signed up to go over there and fight the brown man.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I almost feel like inmates get paid more than soldiers do.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you get that, you're spending 24/7 operation overseas with the expectation of being a bullet sponge or murdering.
Yeah.
And then they entice you back in with a $30,000 sign-on bonus.
Right.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and two, I think if you look at so many of the things that, over the course of history that they've done, like with, they talked about that, right? The United States Army has helped develop Call of Duty. They've helped develop all these video games where they're replicating, wartime scenarios. What's the purpose of that, right?
Do you know why that is?
I mean, we are a culture that generates violence through whatever means necessary.
Yeah.
Whether that's we're just going to incarcerate people for drugs that we allowed to be brought over into this country in the first place.
Brought them over here themselves.
CIA
plane or...
I'm sure cocaine just kind of grew legs and walked over here. I'm sure Ronald Reagan and, his presidential...
cocaine got a pilot's license and it flew into the Air Force base down there in Florida.
I was going to say, I didn't know, I don't know about you, but I really wasn't sure that they granted those to inanimate objects. But hey, I mean...
Well, I mean, you got...
I thought Class 4 substances were prohibited from gaining any aviation licenses.
We can't stop people from freedom,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you identify as a kilo of cocaine or not. You can get a pilot's license. You can fly into a military base and go completely unobscured until you get caught in the street with some black fella's pocket, and then it's over for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think too...
How dare you make a living without paying your taxes? Cocksucking piece of shit.
And, I think about it, if you look at... if you look at some of the things, like, listen, drugs in some way, opiates and stuff, they've ruined some of the fabric of society.
On purpose.
But here's the problem with that, though. It wasn't the drugs that ruined society. It was our response to the drugs that ruined society.
Right.
I mean, listen, I hate it, right? I hate it, but they're right. Like, clean injection sites, they work.
I have no problem with that.
I hate to sit here and say, like, we should just set up fucking...
They're going to do it regardless.
Yeah.
So why not?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, man, is would you rather have the guy in the lane next to you nodding out on heroin, 75 miles an hour going down 75?
Right.
Or would you rather have him, in a tent at a clean injection site and he's not driving?
Right.
I hate to say it, but it fucking works.
I mean, truth hurts.
What
about Ibogaine? Even the treatment options.
Yeah.
Let them have safe use, like you're saying, with clean injection sites. But the way that you get off this shit, they made a Schedule 1.
Right.
Ibogaine. It's a fucking psychoactive drug that's non-addictive.
Right.
That literally cures people of all kinds of addictions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and that's the crazy thing, is that by nature, it's not, like, the properties in it are not addictive at all. Like, it's literally...
We can't patent this.
Yeah, it's
Schedule
almost
1.
impossible to make it addictive. So it's like, it's literally the least effective moneymaker in the world.
The most recent example of that, they tried to make Kratom a Schedule 1, but they failed, luckily.
Good, yeah.
What blew my fucking mind, somehow they made CBD a Schedule 1. But then they backtracked on it, only as long as it took them for they have a patent on CBD. Big Pharma. So once that patent got through, they were cool.
Yeah.
They're like, go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but they had it at gas stations everywhere. And then it disappeared for 6 months. And then it came right back.
Yeah. Because I thought the same thing. When I first saw them at gas stations, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What do we... And then they disappeared, and I knew they'd get that. Just like they got salvia. Just like they got K2.
So delicious. Fuck reality.
It's so fucking overrated, man.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to slide into that, too, whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fire conversations about a week ago. Time's funny. I don't know. It's a flat circle.
Could have been 7 years ago.
78 years ago, we were talking. in the pumpkin patch, you know. Bunch of unruly pumpkins not wanting to get up. Get the fuck out. But talking about the nature of reality and maybe everybody's opinion on free will. Because me and you, I mean, it was more than a week ago. We went back and forth a little bit just in our little, whenever we get time to talk about it. And I was like, nah, man, totally have free will.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
And you wore me down.
Yeah.
I think maybe on the micro, but
yeah,
we'll get into that in a minute, I guess.
Yeah, I'd love to. Before we do that, let's take a quick moment about Kratom.
Yeah, for sure.
A good buddy of mine, just a small anecdotal story here, but man, I'm a firm believer in Kratom, honestly. A good buddy of mine, he's got a relatively rare neurological disorder that causes your brain to interpret random signals as pain signals. So the feeling of a jacket rubbing across your skin, he describes it as needles on a sunburn.
Always or sometimes?
It's not always, but it's a majority of the time. Man, so it literally causes you to live in just abject pain and the fear, like just this total fear of just constantly reoccurring pain.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it all started with a slip disc that became herniated and then started to press on his on the sciatic nerve, and so he had several unsuccessful surgeries at treatment. He was looking at spinal fusions, different things like that, and about that time he discovered Chris Bell. Now Chris Bell is a former wrestler. And he had kind of a similar situation with pain and unsuccessful back surgeries, and then Chris Bell developed an opiate addiction, and then he discovered Kratom. Well, after the second unsuccessful back surgery, this buddy of mine he found Kratom, and he hasn't taken the narcotics they prescribed him in, I believe it's over 4 years now.
Damn. Victory for him.
Completely with the use of Kratom. So, listen, Kratom works. The alternatives to what Big Pharma has on the market, they work. And the fact that if you can sit here and you can tell me the coincidences of slave labor in prisons, or that, the heroin epidemic caused by overprescriptions of opiate drugs, you can tell me that all of these things aren't just coincidental, or that they are coincidental, rather.
I don't believe in coincidence.
I mean, it's just not fucking possible.
What was it, the 90s? We had the crack epidemic that rolled through the inner cities in order to help further destabilize the black family. Yeah. That's now going on in the white family. Right. Opiate addiction or meth. Mm-hmm. And it just so conveniently happens in the different areas. Yeah. The areas that they want. It's a fucking 4D chessboard, I feel like.
Absolutely.
And the treatments are fucking Schedule 1 or just about,
Yeah. I mean, and let's take that even, if you say, okay, well, let's create Suboxone. Let's treat opiate addiction with another drug that you can also get addicted to.
Another opiate.
Let's create methadone for, what the fuck are we doing here?
Did you ever see the, pull it up here real quick, the advert for heroin when it came out? Mm-mm. Wow. They put it in everything. It was in a cough syrup. One of these old-time advertisements, it's this one. It's talking about heroin as a non-addictive treatment to opium addiction.
Interesting.
So, Bayer Pharmaceuticals created heroin as a Suboxone alternative. So, opium, heroin, fucking methadone, Suboxone, fentanyl. I saw an ad one day when I was sitting in the doctor's office with my kid. Before fentanyl hit the streets, they were talking about this pen that you could get. And I don't remember if it had like pills in it or if it just dosed you if you tapped yourself, but it was a non-addictive way to get off fucking fentanyl. How many times does this have to happen before we just, the reason why these people have power is because we allow them to have power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with the cops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with any of this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that reminds me and I think that's, and like I said, I'm going to go ahead and reiterate go out and buy Gulag Archipelago. I mean, buy it, like, seriously, because it's a...
Who's the author again?
Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Okay.
He actually was a captain in the Soviet Army, and in 1945 he wrote a critical letter of Stalin, and it was incarcerated as a political prisoner.
How dare you think?
8 years, yeah.
God damn.
So, and some of the things that he recounts in there is just no. I mean, it's just hard to describe. I mean, it's unfathomable, really. But he made a good point. There was an agency of the Soviet government that was solely responsible. The only thing that they did was they would go around and they would find people to lock up as political prisoners. And there was actually and he says this, and he says there was no method that they chose how to pick these people. Like, none of these people, or not, I'm going to say most of these people were not even critical of the USSR government.
They just weren't enthusiastic.
They just had a quota. They had a quota to fill. Okay. And so they would come to these people's houses and they'd be like, hey, you're under arrest. And the people would be like, well, okay, I guess I am. And it got to the point they had such trouble filling these quotas because they couldn't find anybody that was critical of the government after everybody started getting hip to this. So they would send people postcards in the mail. They would say, hey, you need to come to the town hall. And everybody would come to the town hall, and then they would just summarily arrest entire groups of people at the town hall.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So you want to talk about, listen, if we haven't learned anything, if we haven't learned anything from the fact that, like, just complete compliance to an authority that has no concern for your well-being at all, would literally give doctors medical licenses to prescribe you drugs, overprescribe you drugs that you'll get hooked to.
On purpose.
On purpose. And then incarcerate you for them and then sell your slave labor to Apple while they're also, allowing them to put money in offshore tax accounts, and use fucking Chinese children, jumping off of factory roofs. So, I mean, listen, the government sucks, okay?
They don't love you.
Our government sucks, and they hate you.
They fucking hate you.
I mean,
yeah.
They hate you as soon as you become non-profitable. They hate you. Let's put it that way. They really love you if you've got a dime. You know, hey, little man, let me hold $1. I mean,
it looks like you owe me 9 pennies. Again. It's so crazy too because you look at all the other governments. I was talking to Elmo about this yesterday, or this morning actually. There was a guy who, I forget if it was TikTok or what it was, but it was one of those. It was either that or YouTube. Anyway, an English guy. He was defending a statue of Churchill, and he's like, love him or hate him.
Yeah.
If he didn't stand there and that statue wasn't there, then there would be a different statue, and there'd be swastikas everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not defending him.
Right.
I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but I'm thinking about how you can justify being someone proud of the achievements of your country, and yet you still allow people who think they came from dragons to rule you, right? But then on the other hand, you've got America, and we all cult worship our fucking red or blue fucking dick that we're about to take for the next 48 years.
Yeah.
And then China, where they've got they've got the Falun Gong. You know about them?
Yeah.
Where they're like the most pure Buddhist. I think they're vegan.
Yeah.
They just live healthy lives, and the Chinese government's like, man, I bet they got some healthy organs.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they just round them up and take their organs and sell them.
Yeah, actually, I read an article one time that they lived a lot of their lives with masks over the face because they were concerned that they might swallow a fly inadvertently and kill it.
Karma.
Yeah, and so that's how pure these people were,
Man, I need some kidneys.
I mean, actually, you could find some really good articles about how the Chinese black market is so rife with kidneys and livers and hearts and different things like that, because there's literally just a point where they're like, well,
we did a show on the Falun Gong and all that organ harvesting.
Yeah.
And there were pictures that we put in the episode cover of a major Chinese airport. They actually have fucking lines on the floor, domestic travel, foreign travel, organ harvest or organ donation. What is it? Organ transplant. They have a fast track lane for people to come from in and out of the country to just order shit. And we broke down the timelines. Like you could go in there depending on the money you paid, and you could get anything within a span of about 30 days. You paid more, you're getting it quick. But that's, I mean,
yeah.
Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
Yeah. So let's not linger too long on any one subject.
No, this is the common theme of the show. We identified the number one killer of man a long time ago. Yeah. In our probably the first 40 episodes, and that's democide. Yeah. Death by government. Yeah.
Well, I think if you think about it, in this way, at least with pretty much any other method or really cause for human violence towards one another, democide is the only thing that's ever going to continue. Because I believe that, at least to some degree, biologically speaking, on an evolutionary scale, I think that the tendency to have some sort of structured government is inevitable for the human race, right? I think that that's the inevitable result of tribalism. I kind of think of it as, if you look at just the physical geographical locations, I think that tribalism over time, you have this basically where you have people inhabiting a similar geographical region. They'll eventually form some type of governmental system. Yeah. So I think the problem is that no matter what happens as a result of that governmental system, we're bound and determined to repeat, at least on some level, the same mistake because we can't avoid it. Right. And so I think the thing of it is the biggest tool, the biggest weapon that we have in that fight is a reluctance to compliance. Yeah.
Systematic non-compliance.
I mean, I think, honestly, I have to say, listen, and for anybody who disagrees with the Black Lives Matter movement, you're crazy, right? For real. And I'll say, and here's why I say that. You have a people that are coming together on some common ground, and they're saying, listen, we're not complying because here's the result of our compliance. Right. And because of that, we're not compliant. And I think that even if it's in a fractured way, at least you can garnish some level of, at least you can garnish some level of, I see that as a positive influence. We might do the same. And another movement can do the same thing. You can have Chinese Lives Matter.
Everyone but white people.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I think the thing of it is that if you can't say that non-compliance is a good thing, is a preventer for democide, you're wrong.
Well, it goes back to just the basic peaceful resistance. Yeah. I'm not going to comply with this. Like some Gandhi shit. Yeah. My only problem with Black Lives Matter, other than the fact that they get co-opted, it's too easy for people to join your group. Yeah. You got Black Bloc. Yeah. You got an organization called Sunrise, which actually elected 18 of the 32 candidates that they put forward, 2 of which AOC and whatever, the other radical Muslim lady. I forget her name.
Yeah, from Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tlaib. No. Rashida Tlaib's another one. There's 3 of them.
It's not important.
Yeah.
They're unelected. Largely, they're just,
yeah, they're just brought forth from the ether.
They're here to teach us the truths of the Hadith.
Yeah.
Such cleansing fire. But you got, like I said, you got Antifa, you got Black Bloc, you got Sunrise. There are all these groups that they want a communist overthrow, and they're riding the wave. Yeah. They literally talk about it in these videos that they put out on their own channels. Like, we just wait for something like this to happen, and then we ride the wave. Yeah. Yeah. And it's too convenient that they're also tied to these big money funders that want to destroy the currency anyway. Right. It's all a play.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that. I get that point. I think my main concern is at least my agreement with it is in the foundational idea.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. I think that the thing that I imagine is the most effective method is some level of unity. I think because if you look at it like that too, it's hard to garner some level of unity among
in any group
of other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really is. So if you can find some unifying factor to be like, look, we hate the police, and we hate at least large elements of the government that they're employed by, and we're not compliant with that. I think that's something that we all need to adopt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just wish there was a way we could do it where it wasn't involved in race.
Yeah. No, because I agree.
Anytime that they get a chance, it's one of their main tools of dividing us.
Yeah.
White lives, black lives,
yeah.
all lives, blue lives.
Yeah. All right.
How about human beings?
Blue lives.
How about fuck the government?
Yeah.
Can we just come together and think of a PR way to just say no masters?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Anarchy,
I get that. Right. Yeah.
All love.
That. I get that. And
that's the only thing they fear, I feel like.
Well, I think that too, maybe to some degree, I think that's I read a book. I think maybe we might have had a conversation about this before. I read a book some years ago called The New Jim Crow. This book highlighted a lot of different things, and it made a lot of sense. It talked about how essentially, it talked about how the prison system was used as a replacement for slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Very effectively. I mean, it worked. It was almost a seamless transition.
Yeah. Still working with no problems. Really.
Yeah. I mean, how can we demonize the people so much? And that's always been my problem with the prison system, right? Is how can we demonize people to the extent that we're okay with the shit that we do? Like, how can we be like, yeah, you know what? Fuck them. They need to fucking work 12, 16 hours a day for, 45 cents a day. I mean, how do they effectively allow us or how did we allow each other as, an American population to be like, yeah, if you fuck up, this is what you should get. You know what I mean? Like, how'd they
sell it?
Yeah, how did they sell that? But this book described that pretty well. And I think that the biggest problem is at the end of the day, the racial divide started very early on in this country, and I think the author kind of pointed to Thomas Bacon's rebellion, and essentially, so how they explained it is that white people were here in this country as slaves, black people were here in this country as slaves, and Native Americans were here in this country as slaves. Some Mexicans brought it from the South were here as slaves, and they're like, well, let's see, how can we avoid these guys coming together, and not wanting to be slaves anymore? And they're like, well, if we just tell, the white people that they're just a little bit better than the black people, but we're still going to keep them in the shittiest conditions as we possibly can, then we can divide them enough to where at least we know
they won't want to lose their caste.
Right. The blacks and the whites, they're okay not being together because of this fake division that we've created. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like you say, that's where I support. Now, where I support the Black Lives Matter movement is the noncompliance. Where I have a problem with it is that it plays into, like you said, that divide. Because in that route, we'll never get out of this.
We lack a charismatic leader to bring everyone together.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to get to the argument of black lives, all lives.
Yeah.
And blue lives and all that other dumb shit. But I feel like we're reaching a point where it's not going to matter much longer.
Yeah.
This is all orchestrated.
Yeah.
They had to do something to tank the economy.
Right.
Because we're at fictional levels of debt.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can actually fathom the size of $1 million,
right,
then tell me what $1 trillion looks like.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Nobody knows what that looks like.
If you look at the national debt clock with all unfunded liabilities, we're something like 25 quadrillion dollars in debt. Now you've taken fiction and you're pissing on me while I sleep.
Right.
And you expect me
yeah,
just take it. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all a function of the game. This is all probably a mall game that we signed up to play as children. You know, $15 for a 30-minute ride, and we just think it's a 90-year game.
Right.
We come out and we're like, man, Culliver came back after, colon cancer, bro. He was 88. And he went back to the carpet store. Shout out Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we're closer now to a purge than we ever have been.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it kind of revolves around this, man, is that we have the ability, the American experiment is unique in the fashion that the way that we started the country, it wasn't like, well, the way that we started this country was treason. You know what I mean? Like we were founded on treason, at least to some extent. That there's a piece of the quote unquote patriotism in this country, the story of this country, where there is some part of us that's willing to say, you know what, fuck the system. I mean, you're going to have the Tom Morellos. I mean, that from Rage Against the Machine, that's going to burn an American flag in the 1990s.
Yeah, right.
You're going to have that. And I think that if we can capitalize on that feeling of, you know what, fuck the system.
You can't burn my hypnotic worship flag.
Yeah.
That cloth is important to me, and I will fight you with violence if I ever see you light of the blaze.
Yeah. And so we have to capitalize on that. If it comes down to it, we have to capitalize on that violent noncompliance, man. I mean, we really do.
There's something calming when I watch TikTok and I just see cops getting beat up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Somebody, Dr. Doug Hurdy, who you met recently.
Yeah.
For maybe the first time.
Yeah.
He wanted to have a debate, I guess you would call it. We were talking about the murder of that dude at Wendy's.
Yeah.
And he's like, how's that any different than, I don't know why he used this example, but say you're a prison guard and somebody just comes up and takes your PR.
Okay.
And how do you justify the violence that you will then ensue upon him? Because you're a part of the slave system. You don't know what he's in there for. It's not really your job to judge him. But your job literally is to enforce with violence their incarceration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, hypothetically, I hate that job.
Yeah. Right. If I were to have a job,
I would never would though.
Right. I would never be involved.
Nah.
In an employment like that.
Nah.
Yeah. But hypothetically speaking, though, here's the thing. I find this interesting. Hypothetically, I've talked to a lot of people that work in a place like that.
Yeah. Once or twice.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
One might even say hundreds of times.
Yeah. We've been here before.
And none of them have killed anybody. Well, let's just say that none of them have killed anybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good track record.
Right, yeah.
None that work there anymore.
Right. So you have people that are just proven to be, well, at least, however proven you can have with a jury of 12 people randomly selected.
Right. Randomly.
That are proven to be violent criminals, and none of them have ever been murdered by the employees there that work there. So I don't know, right? And actually, that situation in which you described has happened multiple times.
Yeah.
So I've heard.
Well, that's what they say.
I mean, I can't be for sure. I've never seen it.
You don't work there,
right? I don't work there.
Neither of us.
But had it ever happened, and none of these alleged offenders who had done such a thing, supposedly, were ever murdered, or killed, or as they might say,
corrected.
Yeah,
re-educated. God damn it! I almost threw up on myself.
Yeah. So yeah, back to your point. You want to have at least a brief discussion on free will, man?
Yeah, I just have you come to any new realizations about it? Because the more we've talked about it, and then we've gone about a week or so without talking about it, it's only really fucked me up more.
Yeah. Well, trust me. So this started with me. Let's see. I can't remember how long ago that was. Let's just say a couple years. I've always been. I grew up very religious, very religious.
Raised Christian.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking 3 church services a week.
Ooh,
yeah.
Thought I had it bad.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was heavy. I've preached in a pulpit before.
No shit.
Yeah.
I did not know
Believe that. Yeah. I've got a video proof of it too.
I was gonna say, are you hitting me with some of that shit you told me about with your college professor? Like when I was a drug addiction counselor. I'll buy whatever you're selling. It doesn't matter if it's true. Just tell me your story.
It sounds good. Yeah. No, but that is true. And I grew up and I grew up very conservative. My parents were never political, but they said they were conservative, so I just kind of assumed that I was. And growing up in a working class, fucking poverty-ridden area, really.
Blue collar life.
Yeah. And so all of these things that I've learned in the past 5 to 10 years have just really shook me to my core. And I say that with sincerity. I really do, because you want to talk about the hardest thing to wrap your head around growing up, thinking you go from, listen, you're born and God gave you free will and he just wants you to love him.
Make the right choice, though.
Make the right choice or burn in hell for eternity. But you have that choice, right? I grew up believing that. I mean, I really, truly, I've read the Bible. I've actually read it several times, right? Cover to cover. Interestingly enough, I still go to Bible study sometimes, occasionally, because the pastor at the church that I went to, he's a super intelligent guy. He's got a PhD in religious theology. And I go because I want to understand the viewpoint of the religious. I want to understand how they still feel the way that they do.
Right.
And so going from believing that way to at least mostly believing that we don't have free will at all was the hardest thing for me to jump to,
Yeah.
But Sam Harris hashtag, making sense. You have to check it out, man. You have to listen to, he's had 3 or 4 different conversations. Really good one with Brett Weinstein. He's had a really good one with Jordan Peterson. He's had talks with even Ben Shapiro, actually, interestingly enough.
That would be a neat one to listen to.
Yeah. I have to say that, I originally discounted Ben Shapiro just as a fucking nut job.
Fucking Jew.
But yeah, but that guy, I have to say that, first of all, he's Harvard educated, right?
Yeah.
So he's not dumb. He may play dumb, but he's not dumb, And you listen to some of the conversations they've had, and when you listen to Sam Harris's viewpoint on the matter, and you really start to look at it, you have to kind of confront yourself with the fact that maybe he's right. Not only maybe is he right, but he's probably right. And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. My biggest problem with him, I've listened to a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
And I went down the Hitchens rabbit hole for a while.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big Hitchens fan, by the way.
That's why I mentioned him.
Yeah.
I like where their head's at in a lot of ways, but it's almost like, and I don't know if either of them are a part of the Atheist Plus crowd or not, but they basically turned atheism into religion.
Yeah.
I just don't. My problem is, I'd say at the lowest point in my life of trying to figure it out, right? Agnostic is a good word.
Okay.
Because nobody knows.
Yeah.
You can tell me all day long that you know one way or the other, but you're fucking lying.
Don't. You're a liar.
You haven't been told anything that I haven't been told.
Right.
I've done too many psychedelic drugs to think it's an accident.
Yeah.
The way, I'm willing to go, you fucked me up, honestly, with the, I'm willing to accept a simulation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But
Nick
the fact
Bostrom, hashtag.
when you hit me with that shit about, not only is it a simulation, but it's a simulation created by an AI.
Yeah.
And my brain automatically was like, that's poppycock.
That's bullshit.
I'm driving home and I'm like, I'm throwing up in my lap and I'm just smeared all over my body like it's finger paints.
Yeah.
But it's it could be that.
Yeah.
And then you talked about the interview, I think it was Eric Weinstein, and where he interviewed Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was Lex Friedman on the Artificial Intelligence podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for those of you who aren't hip, Lex Friedman, he's a MIT engineer. This dude he's from Russia, you know. So just a little disclaimer.
Mark Conover.
You know, he's probably Mark Conover.
Yeah.
I've never met Mark Conover.
Never have
he
either.
works at a correctional
Dimitri
facility.
Lahavra
You know,
one
he
time.
did supposedly.
Today
And
they
I've
must
never
die.
been employed at.
No. Fuck that.
Why would I do that? But so here's the thing: is don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that. Like, listen, I've decided that this is the truth, and that this is the way it is, and I'm 100% certain of this fact. But the more that the facts are laid out to me,
Tips the scales.
the more I become convinced. So, and the simulation idea run by an artificial intelligence, man, you talk about mind bending.
Yeah, it broke me.
But just for a little bit of a reference point here, let's kind of ground this conversation. Elon Musk last month, when they launched the SpaceX to the International Space Station, the first private company to ever launch astronauts to the International Space Station. The first time that they've launched a spaceship from American soil in 9 years, right? So, and the CEO to have the largest pay increase, net worth value wise, in a period of time in American history, right? Now, I don't know about you, right? But it would seem to be that maybe he knows what he's talking about.
Kinda.
Maybe. Or maybe the fact that he's got the largest fleet of self-driving cars in the world. Or that he's also trying to run some type of project where he's trying to hack the human mind with Neuralink. Simultaneously, maybe he's got a little bit of credibility. And
That the interview that he gave on Joe Rogan made me feel for him.
yeah,
Like, I actually felt feelings.
yeah,
Because he actually seemed like he was suffering.
right,
Where he's talking about, like, I can't turn it off.
yeah,
My brain's constantly trying to think of things to fix.
right,
And he just seemed tired.
yeah,
I was like, God damn.
yeah,
The level of depth from an interview
man.
is much deeper than I expected.
Yeah. Well, he talked about that too. He said that recently. I think it was on an interview. He's like, yeah, it was after SpaceX had launched. He was like, yeah, I slept for like 4 hours. He's like, this is the most I've slept in years.
God damn.
I'm like, this dude is a savage.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, shout out to being an AI.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
pretending to be a human.
Apparently, yeah. And, it's funny. I believe that Lex Friedman asked Elon Musk a question. They had 2 interviews on Lex's podcast that you should check out. But he on the first one they asked, what would it look like when 2 AIs have their first conversation autonomously? And then the next conversation they had, somebody made a good comment. It's like, here it is right now.
Man.
Because they're both fucking artificial intelligence for real. You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like, these dudes are not real. But they talked about it, and Lex Friedman asked Elon Musk a question. He said, how would you know, from your perspective as an engineer, or as the head of a corporation that's trying to engineer artificial intelligence, he said, how would you know that AI has achieved AGI, artificial general intelligence? And he said, when we have no test to understand or to differentiate between human beings and artificial intelligence, then we'll have achieved AGI. And I got here to thinking about it. And so it kind of comes along with this idea of the simulation theory that even when you get to the end, the simulation is either designed in such a way that you'll never tell when you get to the end, right? Or when you get to the end, the simulation will be changed.
Right.
To where the end is really just this ever-fleeting kind of concept.
Ever-changing.
Yeah.
Westworld.
Yeah, it is, right? So
you
it's
might think you die, but you just keep getting put back in the game.
Really, the small black ball that's your consciousness is sitting in some, water tank flotation device that's keeping it cooled to a certain degree.
Used as a cell for the AI main brain that's just trying to experience itself.
Yeah. And so I think, I'm not... Okay, so I am anti-religious in some ways, right? There are certain people...
You say anti-faith?
Yeah. Well...
Faith is the enemy of knowing.
Yeah, I would say anti-faith. Yeah, that's probably the better of the two.
Faith is dangerous.
Yeah, faith is dangerous, and I try to make that point to people. I really, and I think here's the thing. Now, I hate to do this, because I hate to be this guy, but I'm gonna play the devil's advocate on this situation.
As you should. Critical thinking's a motherfucker.
Right? Yeah.
I'm
gonna play the devil's advocate for Hitchens and Harris. They truly believe, and I think the biggest thing, and I find this, Christopher Hitchens, he was a drunk, right? And he was very adversarial, which made him one of the best public speakers you'll ever hear. I mean, I think that's the kind of the...
Takes an interesting concoction to make a public speaker.
Yeah, he's very intoxicating and intoxicated, But like when you listen to him, I mean, just like the way that he just kind of brings people in this, like, this intellectual trap and then just pounces.
Soothsayer.
If you ever get a chance, watch him and Al Sharpton. It's like a lion, playing with a dying buffalo.
Just so you know, as I'm editing this podcast later, I'm going to be doing all the things you're suggesting.
Yeah. But I think if you listen to Sam Harris, I think that part of the reason why he makes atheism a religion, and I think maybe he's walked that back to some degree, is because he really believes that the human species is capable of complete reason. And he believes that because we lack free will, he believes that the people who believe like him in complete reason can influence, right, the mind without the use of freedom of choice enough to change the danger of faith. Because faith is, like you said, faith is dangerous.
Yeah.
Faith in God is dangerous. Faith in Allah is dangerous. Faith in Buddha is dangerous. All these things are dangerous because it requires some level of
cognitive dissonance. Like,
it does.
Shut it off.
Yeah.
Follow the faith.
Like, hey, I just don't believe what I see, or I believe what I don't see to a scary degree.
Yeah.
I mean, both of these things are equally terrifying. And so that's where I'm not really sold on free will. I'm not sold on choice. And it's funny to sit here and say that because, maybe I chose to drive here tonight to have this conversation. Or maybe there was a part of me that, regardless of whether or not I wanted to do it, that if you asked me, I would have come. Because that's how my brain is created. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or that's how my brain is designed. And maybe there's a part of you that was always going to ask me to be here. Right?
I definitely wanted to ask for a long time.
So
Tubbs is also asking that you come back.
Yeah.
Because he wants to have a three-way game.
Yeah. I like that as well.
Stinks.
So I think the thing of it is that there's really no way to prove that freedom of choice exists or that it doesn't.
Well, you fucked me up the most with it when I gave you the example. I think it was the day that I broke. Maybe like the third or fourth time we talked about it. But like, I was like, man, for real, we're here. Mm-hmm. We chose to come to work that day in the factory of sadness. Mm-hmm. We chose to get dressed and go into that cock-sucking hole of human shit. And we're having that conversation. I was like, theoretically, I could leave here now, at any time I want, not tell anyone. Mm-hmm. I could go get my things. I could just fucking leave and go until I ran out of money and then start a new life. And you're like, yeah, you could. Yeah. You're not going to, though. Yeah. Yeah. God damn it, man.
Well, and I think about that a lot too. Like, for example, like if I were to say to you, and I think that's why predictive analytics works. Predictive analytics work with text. That's why it works. If you're going to say that I can accurately predict the choices you'll make given certain conditions, right? What does that mean?
Based on the information, like how Google has all the information.
Yeah.
And they can predict within a 90 percentile what you're going to do before you even know what you're going to do that day.
Yeah.
So you have the right amount of information. Mm-hmm. Sure, you can tell me what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unless I decide to wake up, instead of using Grindr, I hit up Bumble. You
know
what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm feeling froggy.
Well, and I think the thing of it is, man, is that the illusion of choice is so strong, right? The illusion, and I think that maybe I think that if we understand, I think if the human species understands that we don't have freedom of choice, I believe that at least on some level, there is some danger of just this complete nihilism, right? Well, fuck it. What does it matter? You know what I mean? I can't choose what I'm doing anyway. How
does that impact you think, if you just take on the nihilistic viewpoint?
Well, I think of it like this, and I think Sam Harris and Brett Weinstein, they went down this rabbit hole. And they described life in a deterministic way as such. Let's say you're reading a book, okay? You don't know how the book ends, right? But the book's already been written. You can't change the book, right? You can't change the path that the characters take. You can't change anything about it. But yet you read the book anyway.
Because you read it
with
how
the
it
same
ends.
intensity.
Right.
Because you want to know how it ends.
You like the story.
Right. So your life is a story. Right? It's been written in some way, right? Even the things that happen unexpectedly, they've been written in some way. Not by an author so much, but I think they've been written in the fact that physics exists in such a way that if you plug in a certain set of numbers, right, certain things are likely to happen based on those numbers.
To go back to your example of our previous conversation where you said, like, you're born a white male in southwestern Ohio, FEMA District 5.
Yeah.
You've already guaranteed a certain amount of things versus being born in India as a female or China as a female.
Absolutely.
It's all predetermined code.
Absolutely. Well, it's like, too, it's kind of like if you were to look at it as just like a simple line, right? And every factor that determines the outcome of your life or the outcome of your current position were to subtract from the total length of that line, what's left at the end?
Right.
Right? So, race, geographical location, right? The culture in which you were raised, right? All of these different things, how much of that influences the choices that you make, right? So, like,
do you think that choice or free will exists on a micro but not on a macro, basically? Like, you can make minuscule choices that are within your biome.
Yeah. And maybe that's a possibility.
Creating the illusion of actual choice.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I like to kind of hold on to, because honestly, it terrifies me. The idea that free will doesn't exist.
It's fucking terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't scare you, right, then you're
not paying
crazy.
attention.
You know what I mean? Because that means that nothing matters.
Yeah.
Right? Your life is meaningless.
Hashtag no lives matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Every life around you, right? Everybody's existence, even giving a fuck about it is futile. Because everything that happens was already going to happen anyway.
Well, that's why, shout out Buddhism.
Yeah.
Religion again.
Right, yeah.
But non-attachment.
Yeah.
That's the only way to decrease suffering.
Well, and there's a good, on that note, there's a good, I call him philosopher, intellectual, whatever, Paul Bloom, if you ever get a chance. He's I think he's a Harvard or Stanford psychologist. And he talks about the case against empathy. And he says that empathy is bad because it's not good for us to feel the suffering of other people. I mean, honestly, right now, as we speak in this very moment, how many people are dying and suffering, being tortured to death right now? Being raped, being murdered, being whatever. I mean, you can't feel the pain of other people like that.
Your head would explode.
You know what I mean? So there is some legitimate case against empathy, a case for sympathy, but against empathy, because,
See, now, just to judo this, because I'm just trying to share my mind fuck that I went through with our conversation with everybody listening. But, like, I think when I finally broke, I hit you with like, well, why? What does it even matter?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you do? Because I kind of thought maybe you were taking a nihilistic viewpoint,
Right?
and I was like, well, how the fuck do you even justify? Like, what do you do to feel like you help? And you were talking about like you know, instead of being here, I'd rather be somewhere with you or anybody else.
Yeah, just
making a ramp
right
at somebody's house who needs handicap access.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to William McCaskill, Effective Altruism, by the way.
Is that not effectively like choosing empathy over nihilism?
Well, and that's the thing. That's where I found myself personally at an impasse because I don't know. I'd like to think that these choices exist. I'd like to think that the decision to be like, well, fuck it, it doesn't matter anyway. I'm just going to keep coming to a shithole to work and blah, blah, blah. But I think in a way, the path that you take, given certain knowledge, is kind of determined by the overall structure of your brain and what makes your, you know, what the makeup of your psychology. You know what I mean? Like, why would I rather be doing these things? I really don't know.
There's a reward system involved there.
Yeah. I mean, I was born that way. You know what I mean? I was born feeling good helping people. You know what I mean?
That's natural, I think.
Yeah. And so I don't know, man. I'm very hesitant to say that, you know, hey, listen, free will does not exist. I'm very hesitant to do that because it's too scary, man.
Right.
Like, that's probably the biggest, that scares me more than nuclear Armageddon.
Yeah.
Because at least in nuclear Armageddon, we don't have to feel pain for the rest of our lives, and generations and generations don't have to live out some fucking made-up simulation.
Remember that time after nuclear Armageddon where we were both radioactive potato farmers? You know?
Yeah. I mean,
it's heavy. I mean, it's definitely a great thought exercise. Yeah. I also can't commit to the lack of free will because I'm going to sit here and convince myself until the day that I can't draw breath anymore that I chose all this.
Yeah.
You know,
I get it.
I
get it. But here's the thing, though, right? Here's the only thing that I challenge people on. Is I say this, listen, constantly question that how much of that is you're convincing yourself out of fear.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For sure. And the other factors, too, I think we talked about the book Robots Rebellion.
Yeah.
Where how much of your choices are actually your own versus not even completely disregard the fact that 80% of your mood, and how they came up with that number, I'll never know.
Right.
But 80% of your mood is dictated by your gut biome.
Right.
Based on your diet.
Right.
Your genes.
Yeah.
You know, we're more or less a fucking walking, talking tunnel for the things that live in our bodies.
Yeah.
More than we are a conscious being.
Yeah.
Making its own choices.
Absolutely.
But I'm still sticking with the old faithful. Out of fear, you know, probably.
There's a lot of part of me that is too, because like a lot of these things I understand, like logically, I could sit here and I could say, well, you know, here's what I believe based on the facts. I believe this to be true. But at the end of the day, right, the way that I live my life is based on the idea, the illusion of freedom of choice.
Right.
Because that's really the only way that you can make it by on a daily basis. It's
the only way to keep it just a gun oil in your mouth and not an actual, you know, pop.
It reminded me of that Stone Sour. Keep the gun oiled and the temple clean.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, man.
But, I mean, really, we just have to attend most likely, I would assume, a Westboro Baptist Church sermon.
Yeah.
That'd probably get us right.
Yeah.
I think that, or maybe just forego all worldly possessions and go on a trip to Mecca.
Yeah.
And then learn the truths that we have to then share with a bus full of innocent people. You know what I mean? You ever seen that meme of the little girl looking back at her mom and she's getting on the school bus and she's like, why is my backpack so heavy? And the mom just says, a little Akbar.
I like the one where it's like that face you make when your dad or your husband comes back from the suicide bombing.
The fuck? Yeah. God, you have one job, Dad.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Here in America, we've got problems with fathers like going for a pack of cigarettes and not coming back for 23 years. You know? Over there, they don't come back. When they do, it's a disappointment.
Intentionally.
I can't call it.
Oh, man.
Is there anything in your heart or your supposed emotion box, whatever you call it, that you would like to share with the hundreds of thousands of people that are inevitably going to hear your dulcet tones?
Man, I think one of the biggest things is if you listen to Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot being read by Elon Musk, I think if that doesn't make you understand the meaninglessness of your mere existence.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't at least put it into perspective, maybe the fact that, you're just not even a tiny speck of dust on a cosmic plane that is suspended in a pale blue shadow in a universe that's hundreds of billions of years older than its own self.
I'm sorry, did you say 3,000? Because that's what I accept.
Yeah.
3,000 years old.
Hashtag, I'm not going to put out any numbers out there.
Fuck it.
Yeah. But honestly, though, I don't mean to be negative in that sense. What I mean to say is that I think that we exist in a world where we've placed some massive level of importance on things that we can't even really say that matter. But there's an old is it Greek proverb or Roman proverb, and it said, "Great is the man who plants a tree whose shadow he will not live in."
Yeah, right? That's deep.
And man, that hit me the other day.
Yeah.
So plant some trees, man. You know,
to shade your grandbabies.
Yeah.
Or great grandbabies.
Yeah. I mean, whatever it is, man.
Or maybe a protester.
Yeah.
Who's gender fluid and
not binary.
He's just trying to hide.
Yeah.
He's just trying to find a place to load up that Molotov cocktail.
Artificial intelligence bots that just fucking lob.
Trying to find a place to get away from the man for a brief second to load up that Mazel Tov cocktail and throw it into the fucking Zion machine,
Man.
It's been good.
Yeah.
You definitely got to come back.
Yeah.
Tubbs wants to increase this fucking psychic handball to threefold. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that.
He was very upset spaghetti when I told him that you were coming on. He's like, "Why didn't we do this before?" I was like, we'll get him back, man. It's cool.
Don't worry, man.
I'll pay for the gas, whatever you need.
Watch me get killed in a fucking car accident or something.
No, actually, it's nuclear warfare. We touched on it earlier, but China talked about wartime measures, and matter of fact, they just launched a satellite over North Korea. So they're going to preach a message of peace.
Yeah.
It goes right over the middle of the United States, and they're just going to flash it one time. And all the power goes out. Next thing you know, it just got zipper heads everywhere.
Right.
trying to re-educate us,
Yeah, those fucking EMPs, man.
Yeah. Maybe that or the sun will hook up.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll figure it out.
I think heat death is most appropriate.
I'd rather do this in the astroplane anyway. Yeah. Fuck this aging meat sack that we're driving around,
No doubt, man. No doubt.
You want to go uptown somewhere and pay taxes on a fermented beverage?
Yeah,
what's
absolutely.
Up?
Yeah. It'd be great, man.
Try and get all these shout-outs out without fucking it up. We got JNY5_ on Instagram. Check him out. He makes our cover art. He's a savage. Anarchist, minimalist artist, sending messages through the art form. I can only do stick figures, so everything that he does it's like a goddamn Bible to me. I don't understand it, but goddamn it if he doesn't do a good job, Blood of the Brave at Bandcamp, bloodofthebrave.com, Blood of the Brave on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. He does our music. I wouldn't say our music, but we use his music. We're basically like a giant psychic leech here to give you a little bit of information and also try and suck your lifeblood out over at patreon.com/bonesandtubs. We also have a TeePublic page. You can find a link on our Instagram. We just got an extra 11% off the sales. You want to support us? I'm not going to fucking stop you. Albeit for me to tell you what to do with your money. If you want to fucking join the cult, go ahead. I'm more than fine with that. We welcome everyone. We are on Instagram. Instagram.com/bonesandtubs. Twitter at bonestubbs. Facebook.com/bonesandtubs. Check us out. Share us with a friend. thank you for sitting in. Thank you, Teen Wolf, or unless you have a better name.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Teen Wolf it is. Lannister always pays his debts. But we'll definitely have you back if you'll have us.
Absolutely.
It's been a great time. It's the
always
fastest
been a
way to
caretaker.
assassinate an hour and 15 minutes, you know what I mean? Or go up here and maybe murder a random person and get away with it because we have no motive, you know? I'm just kidding. The no-knock raid's already happening. That's why the dog's barking out there. But thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we love you.
I ain't here to talk shop, I'm here to talk cops who crooked and corrupt, who need to be stopped, who aren't afraid to aim, squeeze and release round after round until they put them in sheets. I said any and everywhere they're hitting it, well aware of what they're doing, and no, they don't care. Everything's illegal and nobody's free. We're all tapped to track, yeah, you and me hardwired to tune. They watch in the back room with their cameras on zoom, laughing at me and you. Yeah, go ahead and think it ain't. Police stay for real, cause the cops got tanks. I got hounds that call out around to the used, but that ain't a problem until they used on you. I said one false move, you'll be up on the news in the morning and evening. Footage of your family weeping, man down. Yeah, they do what they want, and they rule by force and they're out on the hunt. Man down, they put another in the ground. I got tanks and troops headed to your town. Man down, it ain't a game, it's a shame. That's why I don't play, cause they run the game. Man down, yeah, they do what they want, and they rule by force and they're out on the hunt. They say that's the way it is, but it's cause the kids deserve more than to live in a world like this. I'm pissed, I'm phased in the rage, and hop from the flash and the bang grenades. I'm burning alive, cause I'm burning inside. I'm a man on fire, cause another man died. I'm appalled, let's just list them all. I'm sure I'll miss a few, and a few will applaud. They punch kids, shot kids, taste pregnant ladies, taking babies to land, and put cuffs on the hands of veterans. It choked a peacemaker, he broke up a fight and then died a little later. They shot men in the back who were under attack and were caught on film, and they lied about the facts. They protect each other, they're owning the throne, so don't be shocked at all when they break in your home. Man down, yeah, they do what they want, and they rule by force and they're out on the hunt. Man down, they put another in the ground. I got tanks and troops headed to your town. Man down, it ain't a game, it's a shame. That's why I don't play, cause they run the game. Man down, yeah, they do what they want, and they rule by force and they're out on the hunt. It'll get real in a matter of minutes. Gone without a sentence, no trial, no witness. Man down, it ain't new, get a clue and just think next time it could have been you. Man down, it ain't new, get a clue and just think next time it could have been you. Man down, it ain't new, get a clue and just think next time it could have been you. It'll get real in a matter of minutes. Gone without a sentence, no trial, no witness. Man down, it ain't new, get a clue and just think next time it could have been you. Man down, it ain't new, get a clue and just think next time it could have been you. Man down, it ain't new, get a clue and just think next time it could have been you. All they need is a reason, it don't matter, it's open season. All they need is a reason, it don't matter, it's open season.